If you're into art, technology, and investments, you've probably already heard something about the NFTs by now. If you're only into two of those three topics, you've probably heard about it too. If all you care is art, maybe you still haven't, but believe me, get ready because we're getting into a new era and you'll probably be sick of hearing about it in the near future. As a photographer and an artist, this might be the opportunity you've been waiting for to get your art exposed to the people who are willing to pay thousands or even millions of dollars on a piece of art of an unknown talented artist waiting to be found. After all, can you make big money in photography with NFTs? My name is Priscilla Elias and today I'll tell you what the NFTs are, how they work, and my thoughts about that right after the intro. Can you imagine uploading one of your photos in digital format to an online platform and see dozens of people bidding for the exclusive right of owning it? Exactly like the expensive and many times unreachable fine art galleries. More than that, can you imagine yourself as an unknown artist doing that and getting a bid of maybe $1,000, $10,000, $100,000? $1,000,000? Well, good news for you, and for me, good news for us. This is happening. Beeple's The First 5,000 Days sold for a record of over $69 million on March 11 of 2021. It was the first piece of purely NFT artwork to be offered by a major auction house. CryptoPunk 3100 was purchased on March 11 for approximately $7,500,000, breaking the record set by the Punk 7804 sold the previous day due to rising Ethereum prices. And this just to mention two of thousands of digital arts that are selling for millions of dollars on online platforms. And okay, these are not photographs, but hey, you can upload photos to these digital platforms. There are some photographers doing it by now, but we will get there in just a moment. The point is, why would people pay such a huge amount of money in a piece of art when they can actually download that image for free on the internet? This is where you need to understand the concept of the NFTs. NFT stands for non-fungible token. If something is non-fungible, it means it has unique properties, so it cannot be interchanged with something else. A Bitcoin, for example, is fungible. If you trade one Bitcoin for another Bitcoin, you'll have the exactly same thing. Your house or a painting like the Mona Lisa, for example, are non-fungible. If you trade it for a different house or another painting, you'd have something completely different. NFTs are one-of-a-kind assets in the digital world that can be bought and sold like any other piece of property, but the difference is they have no tangible form of their own. If you buy an NFT, it doesn't mean you cannot find that image on the internet and download it for free. You can still do that, but if you get it for free on the internet, your version of the file does not have the certificate that proves your ownership of that image. So in resume, the digital tokens can be thought as certificates of ownership of virtual or physical assets. If you, as an art collector, buy my photograph as an NFT, that means you have the original version of it, and along with it, you have its proper certification of ownership. That is how this market has exploded. Artists are creating exclusive digital arts and putting them for bidding in marketplaces such as Rarible, Foundation, OpenSea, The Sandbox, Maker's Place, and others. Once your art is sold, the person who bought it can keep it or put it for sale for a higher price. And there's more. As an artist, you will not only receive the full amount for your first sale, but you can forever receive royalties every time your art gets sold again. That's because NFTs can also contain smart contracts that may give the artist, for example, a cut of any future sale of the token. Each time your art gets sold again, you will receive part of that profit. So if you happen to sell it now for $900, but the person who bought it from you sold it for $9,000, and you have a 10% contract for that NFT, you will still receive another $900 for that second sale. If it then gets sold for $90,000, you will then receive $9,000 for this next sale, and so on. That is how this market is generating millions and millions of dollars throughout the world. But why? Why do people buy that? After all, you can simply download those photos on the internet and have them anyway, right? Well, some people compare it to buying an original and autographed print. Some people claim it's the future of fine art collecting. Some people treat them like Pokemon cards, where they're accessible to normal people, but also a playground for the rich ones. Sounds kind of crazy and also like an artist's dream, doesn't it? Maybe it is. Maybe this is just a hype, and maybe after a couple of months, it'll all be nothing. But maybe this is the beginning of a revolution. The NFTs are already being used by big brands such as NBA, who already sold more than $400 million in their Topshop Moments collection. For the people who buy it, it's like having a rare car that can be worth even more money in the future. And maybe the kids who are buying these will be able to swap items from their digital collection for actual physical assets. I know it sounds crazy, but as the internet gets more decentralized and the big companies and banks do not own it and dictate the rules anymore, there are chances this will be the future. For many of us, digital spaces are now where we live, where we work, play, and create already. So if you think little, we're not that far from that reality. More and more artists and art collectors have been joining these NFT communities as the days go by and the awareness about the NFT grows throughout the world. Can you imagine one of your photos exploding like some of the digital arts I mentioned here? Or maybe buying one of these pieces for $1,000 and then selling it for $10,000 or $100,000 or maybe $1 million. It can happen, but maybe not for a long time. If you're an artist, as it happens in any new platform, the early adopters and the people who already have their own audience are the ones who will probably get the most out of this new hype in technology. Even now in its early stages, in order for you to be able to expose your art in most of these galleries, you already need to either get to a waiting line that can take weeks, or you need to get invited by someone who is already in the platform, or you need to be approved by curators that will evaluate your work and decide if it fits the platform or not. Marketplaces like Rarible, OpenSea, Foundation, BakerySwap, PancakeSwap, Solable, and Ghostmarket are some of the most popular ones for NFTs. And as for photographers, well, we have not seen many platforms for us yet, at least not exclusive ones. But be aware, there are some rising. Rarible will accept photos, and you might want to take a look at Bitski and OpenSea also, for example. Tokenizing your art is not free though. You will need to make an investment to turn your work into an NFT and publish it, as you will need to mint your NFT, and it can cost an average price of $50 to $100. There are also a few hidden costs that are factored in. One of them is the cost of being in an online sales platform, which will cost from 3 to 15% of the initial sale and about 10% of secondary sales. Then there's the gas price, which will depend on the current gas rate as well as the amount of gas that is required for your transaction. The gas fee is the amount that you have to pay for transactions on the Ethereum blockchain. Yes, when we talk about NFTs, we're talking mostly about crypto transactions. This gas fee is transferred directly to miners who provide computer power to verify your transaction and keep the whole process going. Is this investment worth it? It is important to consider that you might not be one of the ones who gets noticed, or as an art collector, you might not choose an art that grows in value, which would mean losses. But if your work is good, if you have at least a small but relevant fan base, if you know a couple of people that are crazy about the crypto and the tech world, or if you find a way to show this to people who are into this new technology and are looking for new and non-artists, your chances of making some decent money as a photographer producing actual art are pretty big. And also as an art collector, maybe you know an artist who is small now, but you know his work and you believe it is only a matter of time until he gets huge. You might buy one of his NFTs today for $300, $500, and maybe sell it for $100,000 in a couple of years. It is the kind of profit that you cannot find often for any investments. Back to photographers. Brian Miner, for example, is a landscape photographer from Midwest who is not a huge name but has a decent fan base. He has put out 6 or 7 photographs on Bitsky and by now made more than $6,000 on sales. It's a decent amount of money for photos that maybe you've been keeping in your hard drive for years. How many photos would you need to sell in the stock image market, for example, to make that kind of money? If you go through Bitsky's platform, you will see several photographers who have sold photographs for prices that vary from $100 to $5,000. And that's only on Bitsky's main page. I haven't done a deep research on that. I will not go through the process of tokenizing your art in this video, but if learning how to mint your NFTs is something that you would like to know more about, please drop me a line and maybe it can be a topic for a next video. So what do you think? Maybe it's time to go through your archive and shake off the dust of your best photos to expose them as the real piece of art they are. Or maybe it is for you as it is for me, time to do what you've been forever postponing because it did not pay your bills up till now. Creating conceptual art on its finest to show it off to people who are actually willing to invest on it. Or even if you're not interested in creating NFTs, maybe starting to pay attention to them as an investment could be a thing. This might be a big thing for the future or might be just a hype of the moment. But the thing is, a couple of years ago, the cryptocurrencies were seen as insanity by many people, and today the people who invested on it back there are laughing out loud, retiring on their bitcoins in their 20s. So day after day, more and more people get more and more money from it. There are thousands of new crypto millionaires throughout the world, and this only seems to be getting bigger and bigger. I took the first step and minted my first NFT ever last week. This piece is called A Peek Through Knowledge, and it represents this exact moment where we're going through, where people who own the knowledge keep a close eye on it and embrace the new will benefit from it like no other. It is now open for bidding. I minted it as an exclusive piece, so whoever owns it exclusively, and who knows, maybe in a year or two it will be worth millions. Or maybe nothing, or maybe thousands. Who knows? But I love art, I love photography, and somehow I want to be part of this for sure. If you, as an investor, have been following me for a while and believe my first and exclusive NFT could be a thing in 1 or 2 years, I will leave a link down in the description so you can check it out. Or maybe you just want to go through the platform to maybe get inspired and start thinking about the idea of being part of that yourself, as an artist or as an art collector. Is investing in NFTs risky? It is for sure, but the highest risks usually hide the biggest profits. I'll leave you with that thought, and if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and please consider also subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Also, please let me know your thoughts about all of this. How do you see all of this? That is all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching me, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao!